Today's hits.
Where are Bert, Tom, and Charlie? The weak of will, the strong of arm, all are sleeping on the hill. Where are Ella, Lizzie, and Edith? The tender heart, the simple soul, all are sleeping on the hill. One passed in a fever, one of thwarted love, one was killed in a brawl, one of broken pride in the search of heart's desire. Venerable men, vulnerable women, all are sleeping on the hill.
When I first came to Spoon River, I didn't know whether what they told me was true or false. They would bring me the epitaph and stand around the shop while I worked and say, "He was so kind. He was so wonderful. She was the sweetest woman. He was a consistent Christian." And I would chisel whatever they wished, all in ignorance of the truth. But later, as I began to live among the people here, I knew how near to the life were the epitaphs that were ordered for them as they died. But still, I chiseled whatever I was paid to chisel. Made myself a party to the false chronicles of the stones. Even as a historian writes without knowing the truth, or because he was influenced to hide it.
I was sick. But more than that, I was mad. I was mad at the crooked police and the crooked game of life. So, I wrote a letter to the chief of police at Peoria. I'm sitting in my girlhood home in Spoon River, gradually wasting away. But come and get me. I killed the son of the merchant prince at Madame Lou's. And the paper said that he killed himself in his home, cleaning a hunting gun. I'd like the devil to hush up a scandal for the bribe of advertising. I shot him in my room at Madame Lou's because he knocked me down because I said, in spite of all of the money he had, I'd go see my lover that night.
You would not believe, would you? I come from good Welsh stock. of purer blood than the white trash here, and of more direct lineage than the Virginians and the New Englanders of Spoon River. You would not believe that I've been to school and read some books. You just thought of me as a run-down man with matted hair and beard, ragged clothes. Well, sometimes a man's life turns into a cancer from being bruised and continually bruised. Swells into a purplish mass like growths on stalks of corn. Here was I, a carpenter, mired in a bog of a life that I walked into thinking it was a meadow, with a slattern for a wife, and poor Minerva, my daughter, whom you tormented and drove to death. So I crept like a snail through the days of my life. No more will you hear my footsteps in the morning resounding on the hollow sidewalk, going to the grocery store for a little cornmeal and a nickel's worth of bacon.
No other man, unless it was Doc Hill, did more for people in this town than I. And all the weak, the halt, the improvident, and those who could not pay flocked to me. I was good-hearted, easy Dr. Meyer. I was healthy, happy, in comfortable fortune, blessed with a congenial mate. My children raised, all wedded, doing well in the world. Then, one night, Minerva, the poetess, came to me in her trouble, crying. I tried to help her out. She died. They indicted me. The newspapers disgraced me. My wife perished of a broken heart, and pneumonia finished me.
I never saw any difference between playing cards for money and selling real estate, practicing law, banking, or anything else. For everything is chance. Nevertheless, seest thou a man diligent in business? He shall stand before kings.
Together in this grave lie Benjamin Pantier, attorney at law, and Nig, his dog, constant companion, solace, and friend. Down the gray road, friends, children, men and women, passing one by one out of life, left me till I was alone with Nig for partner, bedfellow, comrade in drink. In the morning of life, I knew aspiration and saw glory. Then she, who survives me, snared my soul with a snare which bled me to death, till I, once strong of will, lay broken, indifferent, living with Nig in a room back of a dingy office. Under my jawbone is snuggled the bony nose of Nig. Our story is lost in silence. Go by, mad world.
He protested all his life long. The newspapers lied about him villainously. That he was not at fault for Minerva's fall, but only tried to help her. Poor soul. So sunk in sin, he could not see that even trying to help her, as he called it, he had broken the law, human and divine. Passers-by, an ancient admonition for you. If your ways would be ways of pleasantness, and all your pathways peace, love God and keep His commandments.
I belong to the church and to the party of prohibition, and the villagers all thought I died of eating watermelon. In truth, I had cirrhosis of the liver. For every noon for 30 years, I slipped behind the prescription partition in Trainer's drugstore and poured myself a generous drink from a bottle marked Spiritus Frumenti.
Mr. Kessler, you know, was in the Army, and he drew $6 a month as a pension and stood on the corner talking politics or sat at home reading Grant's memoirs, and I supported the family by washing, learning the secrets of all the people, from their curtains, their counterpanes, their shirts, their skirts. For things that are new grow old at length. They're replaced with better, or none at all. People are prospering or falling back, and rents and patches grow old with time. No thread or needle can paste decay. And there are stains that baffle soap, and there are colors that run in spite of you, blamed though you are for spoiling a dress. Handkerchiefs, napery, have their secrets. The laundress, life, knows all about it. And I, who went to every funeral held in Spoon River, swear I never saw a dead face without thinking it looked like something washed and ironed.
If you in the village think that my work was a good one, who closed the saloons and stopped all playing at cards, and hailed old Daisy Fraser before Justice Arnett in many a crusade to purge the people of sin, why do you let the milliner's daughter Dora and the worthless son of Benjamin Pantier nightly make my grave their unholy pillow?
Back and forth, to and from the church with my Bible under my arm till I was gray and old. Unwedded, alone in the world, finding brothers and sisters in the congregation and children in the church. And I know they laughed and thought me queer. I knew of the eagle souls who flew high in the sunlight above the spire of the church, laughing at the church, disdaining me, not seeing me. But if the high air was sweet to them, sweet was the church to me. It was the vision of the poets democratized.
I had fiddled all day at the county fair, but driving home, Butch Weldy and Jack McClure, who were roaring full, made me fiddle over and over to the song of Susie Skinner, while they whipped the horses till they ran away. As blind as I was, I tried to get out as the carriage fell into the ditch and got caught in the wheels and killed. There's a blind man here with a brow as big and white as a cloud, and all we fiddlers, from the highest to the lowest, writers of music and tellers of stories, sit at his feet and listen to him sing about the fall of Troy.
Where's my boy? My boy, and what far part of the world? The boy I loved best in all the school. I, the teacher, the homemaid, the virgin heart, who made them all my children. Did I know my boy all right? Thinking of him as a spirit aflame, active, ever aspiring. Oh boy, boy for whom I prayed and prayed a many watchful hour of the night. Do you remember the letter I wrote you of the beautiful love of Christ? Whether you took it or not, my boy, wherever you are, work for your soul's sake, that all the clay of you and dross of you may yield to the fire of you, until that fire is nothing but light. Nothing but light.
I winged my bird, though he flew toward the setting sun. But just as the shot rang out, he soared up and up through the splinters of golden light, till he turned right over, feathers ruffled, with some of the down of him floating around, and fell like a plummet into the grass. I tramped about, parting the tangles, till I saw a splash of blood on a stump, and the quail lying close to the rotting roots. I reached my hand, but saw no briar, but something pricked and stung and numbed it. And then, in a second, I spied the rattler, the shutters wide in his yellow eyes, the head of him arched, sunk back into the rings of him. A circle of filth, the color of ashes, or of oak leaves bleached by a layer of leaves. I stood like a stone as he shrunk and uncoiled and started to crawl beneath the stump when I fell limp into the grass.
From Bindle's Opera House to Broadway. 'Tis a great step, but I tried to take it. My ambition fired when, at 16 years of age, seeing East Lynne played here in the village by Ralph Barrett, the coming romantic actor who enthralled my soul. True, I trailed back home, a broken failure, when Ralph disappeared in New York, leaving me alone in the city. Life broke him also. In all this space of silence, there are no kindred spirits. Oh, how I wish Duzay could stand amid the pathos of these quiet fields and read these words.
I am Minerva, the village poetess, jeered at and hooted at by the yahoos of the street. For my heavy body, cockeye, and rolling walk. But all the more when Butch Weldy captured me after a brutal hunt. He left me to my fate with Dr. Myers, and I sunk into death, growing numb, on the feet up, like someone stepping deeper and deeper into a stream of ice. Will someone go to the village newspaper and gather into a book the verses I wrote? I thirsted so for love. I hungered so for life.
It was moonlight, and the earth sparkled with new-fallen frost. It was midnight, and not a soul was abroad. Out of the chimney of the courthouse, a greyhound of smoke leapt and chased the northwest wind. I carried a ladder to the landing of the stairs and leaned it against the frame of the trapdoor in the ceiling of the portico. And I crawled under the ceiling and among the rafters and flung among the seasoned timbers a lighted handful of oil-soaked waste. Then I came down and slunk away. In a little while, the fire bell rang, clang, 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 and the Spoon River Ladder Company came with a dozen buckets and began to pour water on the glorious bonfire, growing hotter, higher, and brighter till the walls fell in, and the columns where Lincoln stood crashed like trees where the woodman fells them. When I came back from Joliet, there was a new courthouse with a dome. For I was punished like all who destroy the past for the sake of the future.
out of me, unworthy and unknown, the vibration of deathless music, with malice towards none, with caring for all. Out of me, the forgiveness of millions towards millions, and the benevolent face of a nation shining with justice and light. I am Anne Rutledge, who sleeps beneath these weeds, beloved in life of Abraham Lincoln, wedded to him, not through union, but through separation. Bloom forever, O Republic, from the dust of my bosom.
When I died, the circulating library, which I built up for Spoon River and managed for the good of inquiring minds, was sold at public auction on the public square, as if to destroy the last vestige of my memory and influence. For those of you that did not know the virtue of knowing Volney's ruins, as well as Butler's Analogy, or Faust, as well as Evangeline, were really the power in the village. And often you ask me, what is the use of knowing the evil in the world? I'm out of your way now, Spoon River. Choose your own good and call it good. For I could never make you see that no one knows what is good, that knows not what is evil. And no one knows what is true, that knows not what is false.
I was the milliner, talked about, lied about, mother of Dora, whose strange disappearance was charged to her rearing. My eye, quick to beauty, saw much besides ribbons and buckles and feathers and leghorns and felts to set off sweet faces and dark hair and gold. One thing I will tell you, and one thing I will ask. The stealers of husbands wear powder and trinkets, fashionable hats. Wives, wear them yourselves. Hats make divorces. They also prevent them. Well, now let me ask you, if all of the children born here in Spoon River had been reared by the county somewhere on a farm, and the fathers and mothers had been given their freedom to live and enjoy, change mates if they wished, do you think Spoon River would be any the worse?
Take note, passers-by, of the sharpened erosions eaten in my headstone by the wind and rain, almost as if some intangible nemesis or hatred were marking scores against me, but to destroy, not to preserve my memory. I, in life, was the circuit judge, the maker of notches, deciding cases on the points the lawyer scored, not on the right of the matter. Oh, wind and rain, leave my headstone alone. For worse than the anger of the wronged, the curses of the poor, to lie speechless, yet with vision clear, seeing that only Hod Putt, the murderer hanged by my sentence, was innocent in soul compared with me.
I know. He told that I snared his soul with a snare that bled him to death.
And all the men loved him, and most of the women pitied him. But suppose you're really a lady with delicate tastes and loathe the smell of whiskey and onions, and the rhythms of Wordsworth's ode are running through your ears, while he goes about from morning till night, repeating bits of that common thing. Oh, why should the spirit of mortal be proud? And then, suppose you're a woman well endowed, and the only man with whom the law and morality permit you to have the marital relation is the very man that fills you with loathing every time you think of it. Well, you think of it every time you see him. That's why I drove him away from home, to live with his dog in a dingy room back of his office.
I spent my money trying to elect you mayor, A.D. Blood. I lavished my admiration upon you. You were, to my mind, the almost perfect man. You devoured my personality, and the idealism of my youth, and the strength of a high-souled fealty, and all my hopes for the world, and all my beliefs and truth were smelted up in the blinding heat of my devotion to you, and molded in your image. And then, when I found what you were, that your soul was small, that your words were false as your blue-white porcelain teeth and your cuffs of celluloid, I hated the love I had for you. I hated myself, and I hated you for my wasted soul and my wasted youth. And to all I say, beware of ideals. Beware of giving away your love to any man alive.
Did you ever hear about Editor Whedon giving to public office any of the funds that he received for supporting candidates? Or for writing up the canning factory so people would invest? Or suppressing the facts about the bank while it was rotten and ready to break? Did you hear about the circuit judge helping anyone except for the Q railroads or the bankers? Or did Reverend Pete or Sibley give any part of their salary earned by keeping still to the building of the waterworks? Or just speaking up when as leaders asked them to do? But I, Daisy Fraser, who walks on the streets always with smiles and nods, amongst coughs and words such as, "There she goes," never was brought before Justice Arnott without contributing $10 and cost to the public school of Spoon River.
I would have been as great as George Eliot, but for an untoward fate. For look at the photograph of me made by Pennywit. Chin resting on hand and deep-set eyes. Gray, too, and far-searching. For there was the old problem. Should it be celibacy, matrimony, or unchastity? Then John Slack, the rich druggist, wooed me, luring me with the promise of leisure for my novel. And I married him, giving birth to 8 children, and had no time to write. It was all over for me anyway when I ran the needle in my hand while washing the baby's things, and died of lockjaw, an ironical death. Hear me, ambitious souls. Sex is the curse of life.
I was the widow McFarlane, weaver of carpets for all the village. And I pity you still at the loom of life, you who are singing to the shuttle and lovingly watching the work of your hands, if you reach the day of hate, of terrible truth. For the cloth of life is woven, you know, to a pattern hidden under the loom, a pattern you never see. And you weave, high-hearted, singing, singing. You guard the threads of love and friendship for noble figures in gold and purple. And long after other eyes can see, you have woven a moon-white strip of cloth. You laugh in your strength, for hope overlays it with shapes of love and beauty. The loom stops short. The pattern's out. You're alone in the room. You have woven a shroud, and hate of it lays you in it.
No, don't you see, this was the way of it. We bought the farm with what he inherited. And his brothers and sisters accused him of poisoning his father's mind against the rest of them. And we never got to enjoy our treasure. The Murren took the cattle, crops failed, and lightning struck the granary. So we mortgaged the farm to keep going. And he grew silent and worried all the time. Then the neighbors refused to speak to us and took up sides with his brothers and sisters, and I had nowhere to turn. You know, as one might say to themselves at an earlier time of life, you know, no matter, so-and-so is still my friend, or I can brush this off with a trip to Decatur. Then the dreadfulest smell filled the rooms, and I set fire to the beds. And the whole witch house went up in a roar of flames, and I danced in the yard, waving my arms, and he wept like a freezing steer.
I loathed you, Spoon River. I tried to rise above you. I was ashamed of you. I despised you as the place of my nativity. And there, in Rome, among the artists, speaking Italian, speaking French, I seemed to myself at times to be rid of every trace of my origin, and to breathe the air that the masters breathed, and to see the world with their eyes. And still, they'd pass my work and say, "What are you driving at, my friend?" Sometimes the face looks like Apollo's, at others it has a trace of Lincoln's. There was no culture, you know, in Spoon River. And I burned with shame. And I held my peace. And what could I do? All covered over and weighted down with western soil, except aspire and pray for another birth in the world with all of Spoon River rooted out of my soul.
I went to the dances at Chandlerville and played Snap Out at Winchester. One time we changed partners, driving home in the moonlight of middle June, and I found Davis. We were married and lived together 70 years. enjoying, working, raising the 12 children, 8 of whom we lost ere I reached the age of 60. I spun, I wove, I kept the house, I nursed the sick, I made the garden, and for holiday rambled o'er the fields where sang the lark, and by Spoon River, gathering many a shell and many a flower and medicinal weed, shouting to the wooded hills, singing to the green valleys. At 96, I had lived enough, that is all, and passed to a sweet repose. What is this I hear of weariness and sorrow, anger, discontent, and drooping hopes? Degenerate children, life is too strong for you. It takes life to love life.